Hello bright beautiful world and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another writing kind of advice video for you and we're going to be talking about a couple of genres. So I want to kind of talk about a couple of genres today and kind of split it up into 2 or 3 videos to kind of give you an idea of what genres you can use or you can fit your own novels into. If you have no idea what genre you want to put it in, this can kind of help you get a little bit of an idea of which genre you can put your writing into. So we're going to get started with the sci-fi genre, which is one of my favorite genres. And I actually wrote a book in that genre. If you follow me on Instagram or if you've watched a couple of my other videos, I've briefly mentioned it, but The Earth That Was is a sci-fi novel. And something that makes it a sci-fi novel is the fact that there are aliens and a war between aliens and humans within the novel. So it has to do with reaping the earth and making it healthy again after humans have kind of made it sick and diseased with pollution and global warming and all kinds of stuff like that. So the aspect of the aliens and the war and the futuristic aspect of it all makes it something that is a part of the sci-fi genre. So another thing that can kind of go along with that is anything futuristic and technological. So anything dystopian-wise, 1984 is considered sci-fi because of the fact that it has the futuristic tech and it has the ideas of what the future can be like. So another one that I would count is Aliens or Predator. If you've seen any of those movies, those would definitely be considered the sci-fi genre. Another one that I would count as the sci-fi genre is the Divergent series, if anybody's ever read those books. The technological advancements in that book and the idea of what it means to use technology to our advantage and having those different, mentalities definitely make it a sci-fi genre novel. And because of the fact that it's a dystopian, setting. So the next one that I want to move into is the romance genre. And that one kind of speaks for itself because of the fact that you need romance. So not a subplot romance, but definitely the main plot romance. It has to be the main plot of the story. So definitely an example of that is Everything Everything. There are moments where we read about her health or her sicknesses and what she has to go through that. But the main point of the novel is getting these two main characters together and keeping that love interest throughout. So that is definitely a romance genre novel. Another one that I would use as an example is Every Day. Now, the premise of that story is having this one person who jumps from body to body each day. So they don't have a single body that they go through every day. Past 24 hours or after 24 hours, they jump from a different person to a different person. So it doesn't matter if it's a girl, it's a boy, they just move into that new body. And the premise of that story is that this person is falling in love with this girl, and they do everything that they can in order to be with this girl or to be close to this girl. And it's just about the romance between these two main characters and how it works out, and having this conflict of this, person who's never in the same body for a, normal amount of days. So that's another one that I would count as a romance genre. You also have rom-coms, which is romantic comedies. And those tend to be in novels and in movies. So anything that you would consider a rom-com, there you go. That's basically within the romance genre. The next one that I want to talk about is the horror genre and the difference between horror genre and murder mystery. So definitely for me, when I think of the horror genre, it definitely has to do with a killer, being in the house or being in an area and needing to, murder these people. And it's not about the fact of figuring out who murdered these people. It's just the sole fact of having this horror, this scary, person, going through and, being the killer for that, specific story. So definitely I would count, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Anything like those is definitely counted as a horror genre. Now, a murder mystery is quite different in the fact that it has to do with a murder of someone or a group of people and having to figure out who did it, who done it. It was the butler. Just kidding. The whole point of those is to kind of go along this journey and kind of, meeting these false antagonists or these, false killers, these red herrings, and trying to figure out who did this, who murdered this person or this group of people, who is the one who is doing this. So, one of the recent movies that I saw, Murder Mystery, actually, with Adam Sandler and, Adam Sandler. It's on Netflix. But that one kind of has a underline of comedy to it. So definitely that one is interesting to watch. But another one that would be counted is Murder on the Orient Express. That is a definite murder mystery book and movie. So anything that has to do with somebody who's sleuthing and trying to figure out who's killed this person is definitely considered a murder mystery. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is comedy or even sometimes satire. So those books tend to be filled with all kinds of jokes or, funny punchlines or even dad jokes, things that make the reader laugh. And comedy can be within your novel, but it doesn't have to be considered under the comedy genre unless it's a main plot point. So unless the book is kind of meaning to be this kind of comedy or this satire. So an example of a satire would be Animal Farm. Definitely a really great novel in terms of that. And it's just, woven throughout. That's, you have these moments of satire, they're picking at something. They're supposed to be funny and kind of giving these punchlines at something else. So definitely that would be considered a comedy. Examples of horror books would be anything from Stephen King. It is definitely a good one. Misery is another great one. There's just so many, his novels are so filled with like this horror, and he has great examples of suspense versus surprise, which I talked about in a previous video. So anything that you want to learn about the horror genre, I'd say definitely go to him. He definitely works for that. The next one that I want to briefly talk about is fantasy. The fantasy part will be broken up into two parts, so it'll be with this video and then with the next video that I do. But definitely I want to talk about fantasy and what it means to have a fantasy novel. So definitely when you think about fantasy, you think about vampires, fairies, werewolves, witches, anything that has to do with magic or anything that has a full-blown world that's filled with fantastical things and filled with fantasy. So definitely books that I would consider are Harry Potter, the Twilight series. I would even count Percy Jackson with Greek mythology. I would count that as something magical and fantastical fantasy. And the book that I'm currently writing, which is the Fae novel, is, under the fantasy genre. So it doesn't have to be, that you pick one specific genre. You can have multiple genres, but there's usually a main genre that your book falls under so that when you're, publishing your book or you're marketing it, you can give that to readers and say, hey, this is what kind of book this is. And they can therefore decide from that or from, the description of the novel, whether they want to read it or not. So those are the genres that I'll be talking about today. I definitely want to get into more later with the next video that I do about genres, but for now, those are the genres that I want to cover. And if you have any questions or you want to start a conversation, leave a comment down below and let me know. And if you like this video or any of the videos you've seen on my channel so far, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. So thank you guys, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye!